In today's tutorial, we're going to look at inserting a 12-bar blues walking bass line into Noteflight. This could form the basis of a blues composition or a rock and roll composition. Having 12 bars, we need to import some more bars into Noteflight because by default it will only have a few. We can do this by clicking in our last bar, coming up to the plus symbol in measure, remembering that you should have highlighted duration, pitch and measure, and then finally pressing the plus symbol. In preparing for my tutorial, I put in a name, the composer, and I also changed the key signature. Today we're going to be working in the key signature of G. The easiest way to import a key signature into your score and to ensure that it applies to all bars is to press Command or Control A so that the entire score highlights, navigate to Change Key Signature in Measure and select the key signature. Today we're using the key signature of G, which has in it an F sharp. Now my score's set up, it's time to input our walking bass line. Our bass line starts on the note G, and it's going to be in the bass clef. To input my first note, I ensure that I have the bar selected, my note head will appear, and I can click where I want to input my note. To import my next note, the best way to do it is to press R for replicate, and to use my arrows to move it into position. Our first three notes voice the G major triad, so I'll press R until I have the note G, B and D. I can continue in this fashion, inputting my entire bass line. In the 12-bar blues, when I get to the fifth note, it's the blue note, which means that it's not going to be the same note as in the key signature. I need to change it from an F sharp back to an F. I do this by navigating to pitch and changing it to a natural. I can then repeat the process of replicating and using my arrows. Now that I'm up to bar 3, I could continue the process of replicating and using the arrows. However, I know that the first 4 bars of music has in it 2 2-bar phrases. All I need to do is to copy by highlighting, holding Shift, and highlighting again my first 2 bars of music, and then pressing Command C or Control C to copy, Command V or Control V to paste. And quite quickly I have my first 4 bars of music in. Given that this is the 12-bar blues, my rhythm pattern in its simplest form isn't going to change. What will change is the position of the notes. At bar 5, I move to the C major triad, and in fact I'm going to make a note of that. To add a note to your score, you can press T for text and add in a chord symbol and some words. I can come back to my first bar and retrospectively put in the same 1 G major. Now that I'm ready to import my next bar of music, I could simply copy and paste over again my first 2 bars and simply transpose it while highlighted. So once again, I'm going to copy by highlighting, holding Shift, Command or Control C, selecting the rest in the bar I'd like to paste, and Command or Control V. With my music still highlighted, I'm going to transpose, and you'll notice that the text has come with us. We can fix that in a minute. I need to transpose the note G up to a C. I'm going to use my arrows to transpose it, and you'll notice that all the notes move at once. In a moment we'll go back and add our blue note for the C triad. I just put in a note by mistake. To remove it, I simply press delete. Let's fix our text. By double-clicking on the text, a cursor will appear, and I can change this back to C major. So now let's check the notes. We start on a C, E, G. We run into a little problem when we get to bar 6. In bar 6, we need a note that's not in the key signature. We need to flatten the first note. And we can add a flat using the pitch symbol. Now we've added a B flat. We continue to move back down the triad and into bar 7. I know that bar 7 goes back to G major for 2 bars. So I can simply copy my first 2 bars of music, Control C, Control V. Now that I'm at bar 9 is going to change to the D major triad. I can put this in a couple of ways. I could copy and paste the previous material and cut it down, or I can input it manually. I'm going to input it manually and add some text. I'll click on the bar, press T, it's triad 5, D major, and then I will select the note D and input the notes into the triad. D, replicate, F sharp, replicate for A, back to F sharp. Into my next bar, I know that it moves back to the C major triad. I'm going to insert my text, my Roman numeral chord symbol, C major, and then manually outline the 3 notes in the chord by selecting the note C, replicating, using the arrows, and putting in my 3 notes. My 4th note comes back down. My final 2 bars of music will be based around the triad of G. And like the last 2 bars, I'm going to input them manually. I'll press T, put in my chord symbol, and then outline my chord, G, B, D. For my last bar, I'm going to do something a little different. To make the piece sound as though it's finishing and coming to, I guess, a close or a repeat, we might like to do something a little different. I'm going to change this note back to a B, and here have the last 4 notes descend from G. Now with my complete bass line, we can have a listen. Okay, as a final step, I'm going to change this to a double bar line, or actually to a repeat symbol. We can find a repeat symbol over in repeat. And now what we can do is to change this to a bass guitar. I'd like my bass guitar to be doubled by the piano, so I'm not going to remove the piano part. Instead, I'm going to add a bass guitar and then copy and paste it over. To add an instrument part, we navigate to Parts, Add Part, and bass guitar can be found in plucked strings. I'll select Electric Bass. Do not select Electric Bass tab unless you'd like to input it on tab. Okay. Close the window, and now I'm ready. I could input my bass line manually, or I could simply highlight my first bar, hold Shift, highlight the last, Command C, Command V, and now my bass line's in. But there's a bit of a problem. Our piano and bass guitar, whilst they can play in the same register, won't always transpose over well. What we want to do is to shift our bass line down to somewhere a little more suitable. And now we have our bass guitar part doubled by our piano right the way through. Let's have one final listen and finish up. Hopefully you hear the same mistake that I do. When we're transposed, our natural symbol hasn't come with our transposition. We can simply add them back in, and we can double check our other accidentals. This would have happened when we transposed down the octave using our arrows. And the rest looks good. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this has helped you input a walking bass line into Noteflight.